This is the precursor to the show where we watch Daniel open up a bottle of wine. Welcome to Wine, Whiskey, and Words. I'm Brad.
I'm Daniel.
And Daniel didn't know I was recording.
I had no idea. But I didn't explode the bottle.
Actually, you did really well.
Yeah,
I was surprised the cork didn't break.
Hey, I know what I'm doing.
All right, well, shit happens sometimes.
Yeah, I'm really good at pulling out. Nope, never mind.
All right, and we're moving on.
So, if you've listened to our podcast before, welcome back. We're glad you've joined us for another episode. If you're new, each episode we have something to drink. Even though we're wine, whiskey, and words, sometimes we try vodka, rum, different things. Just something we find interesting, something we think is going to be fun to talk about. We talk about the wine, talk about whatever we're having. Then we have a discussion about something interesting. It can be anything from something in our personal lives, something in the world, something just random that happened. A picture, I think the first one we did was a picture Brad found. So we talk about something interesting, and then we talk about a topic. The previous week, at the end of the episode, we always mention a topic for the following week. And so far, I think we're on episode 7 now. Is this 8?
This is 8.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's really flown by.
It really has.
It's quite the learning curve, but we've had a lot of fun. We do our best to prep and research usually. If not, we just fill in with lies and innuendo, and we don't have fact checkers.
Daniel
so we can say what we want.
Daniel does his best to prep and research.
I am woefully unprepared this week, so I'm just going to make stuff up.
Oh, great. Well, you do have a lot to draw from for this.
Yes, I am a professional. So with that said, let's begin.
All right.
This week, I decided to jump back into wine. I know we've kind of been on a liquor kick a little bit. And I went to the local liquor store, ABC Liquors, and bought a French wine at the recommendation of one of the ladies who was working there. We walked around the store talking about wine. She seemed to kind of know what she was talking about. Either that or she was really good at lying. But she recommended this French wine from 2020. It is called O Cyrot. If you are French and listening to this, I am going to apologize for anything I mispronounce. I'm doing my best. But it is a Grand Vin de... Yep, can't pronounce this word. It's Bourgogne. Brad, you got that one?
I'm
going with Bourgogne.
Oh my God, I don't even know. Oh,
at the top,
Bourgogne.
Bourgogne. Let's go with that.
That sounds good.
That sounds French.
All right.
So I found this one. It's a Pinot Noir from 2020. I have put in some effort to try to find out things about this vineyard. The only thing I could find, because their website is all in French, and I do not understand or speak French or read it. The only thing I could find was third-party sources, so it's probably his ex-wife who doesn't like him making stuff up. But no, anyway, so the vineyard started in the 1920s, and it's in Pommard, France, which is the Burgundy region. It is known for Pinot Noirs, so that is what this is. This is a Pinot Noir, and it's now run by the great-grandson. They're like 4th generation or something.
Wow.
Olivier, which I assume is the O Cyrot. In the wine, and the tasting notes I found from third-party sources say it is powerful, tannic, with berry and dark fruit smells and flavors.
That can pretty much describe almost any red wine.
It tastes like wine is usually a safe bet. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour us, Brad. Do we need to use? Is this one you would use an aerator for?
I probably wouldn't.
Nope. Okay, then we're just gonna pour. Give you a nice healthy pour. My wife bought these fancy glasses with cats on them, and the cat is like a measuring thing. So.
Oh, is it now?
Okay. That's what she does.
Right.
She has 1 cat's worth of wine. So what do you think, Brad?
I get some. The first note that I got was more of a cherry, and then sniffing it again, I got a little bit of vanilla.
But it almost has like a little bit of a a little spicy edge to it on the nose. I think it's not just the
Like a
fruit
little
and the,
pepper.
yeah, it's very nice on the nose.
I didn't let it touch my nose, so I wouldn't know.
You know, it's good for the complexion.
It's a nice acidity. I get that little tingle on the side of the tongue.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try it again. The first taste did not go well for me, but I'm gonna give it a
It's a
shot.
little. I mean, it's a little light. I'm getting more over there. Uh, and this sometimes happens. You nose a wine and you have these expectations based on it, and then it leads you down a different path.
So I actually think I tasted that one wrong the first time. So the first time I kind of took a little sip and let it like hit the tongue and just go straight down. And this time I took a healthy sip, you know, like a real
Yeah.
like, brr, and swished it around a little bit. And I will say, you really get a better taste with the full swish. Like you really need that whole mouth experience.
Yeah.
This one
I'm
is
not going to go there.
hey,
All right.
we're not.
So the funny thing is that I think people get the wrong idea of Pinot Noir by trying really those mass market ones. And this happened to me initially when I went to Santa Barbara, California, and visited. I mean, that's Pinot country, and I visited a lot of vineyards, but it wasn't the the Maomi style that I was used to from drinking those mass marketed brands. You get a little bit of that earthier, not so much of that sweetness in it that you get with the Maomi.
Yeah, I would almost say that in part of the flavor of this, you almost get if you've ever been to and this is probably going to be a little weird. If you've ever been to Georgia, up in like I call it clay country. So like everything is red. There's clay. Like you see all the mud and trucks with their clay all over the place. And like if you've ever gotten clay in your mouth by accident, that's what I taste on this. Like I taste a little bit of that clay,
Clay.
minerality, and it's good. No, it's really delightful. Like that first taste, again, I just I didn't let it hit my whole mouth, and you know
You've been watching too much Gary Vaynerchuk.
the
Um,
who?
so Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, he's a very big business personality now. He got his start from his family's uh, wine business over. I think it was in Jersey. Um, you hope, but it was called Wine Library.
Okay,
He was one of those very early personalities. I want to say it's like pre-podcast,
okay.
but he would, do you got to do the sniffy sniff. If you ever heard that, that was Gary. Uh, but he's been on different shows, and we're really talking like 20 years ago, where he would go, the taste, the minerality, the grass and stuff, and he would bring different exhibits of that, so that you can go, hey, this is what you smell when you smell grass. Now smell the wine.
So that's way more complex than I was actually being. Like I will admit, as I've started like reading up about drinks before I drink them, you get a healthy smattering of I call them bullshit words, like where it's just like, oh, like this is a word people say, it's kind of pretentious. But I was at Cooper's Hawk one night, and this guy was sitting there, and he's like, well, I usually drink Bud Light. I just don't know what to say when I'm drinking wine. I was like, what do you mean? What do you like? I don't understand. He's like, people talk about this, they talk about that, and I don't know how to. I don't have all those words. And I said, man, like it's all made up anyway. Everybody's just saying what they think, and it doesn't really matter. Nobody really cares unless you're like very like I don't know, like working in the wine industry, I guess.
Well, I'm not necessarily going to agree. I think it helps. I mean, you can drink wine just to drink it, but if you have a bit level of like curiosity, and you can go, man, what is this that I'm smelling? What is this that I'm tasting? And I think it just goes back to educating yourself and taking it a step further. You don't have to be a pompous ass about it, but you can go ahead and do a little bit more research. And you know what? you know, frankly, there's some wines that you get that earthiness
Mm-hmm.
to it. Getting an example, what does that smell like in real life? The example of ripe cherries. There's different levels of cherries. There's bright cherries. There's red cherries. There's
It's
different
true.
levels of cherries that you can go ahead and try. But I don't think that should be discounted.
So don't get me wrong. Like I'm not saying
I'm
it's
getting you wrong.
worthless. It's not. It's not worthless. I'm just saying if you should never feel uncomfortable drinking wine because you don't like.
Unless you're with
you're
your
not.
ex.
You're not there yet. You know. My thing is like this journey we've been on, tasting things and actually talking about them, has really brought out my desire to like think about like what I'm tasting, what it's actually like, how it's hitting me a lot more than I used to, which was like, oh, this is nice, and I like the discussion of it.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to give a little bit of info here, too, just because it's brought up so much at work. People talk about dry wines, and I really wish that they had changed the terminology because
Because it's
when
wet.
you're an idiot. So
My wife agrees.
people use the term dry in a way that it's not meant. So dry with wine means not sweet. Uh, but whereas most of the people use the term dry when they mean tannic. Tannic is that when you're drinking the wine, you're like going, you got like sandpaper in your mouth. It comes from the tannins. Tannins mainly come from the skin of the grape. It can also come from if they actually ended up including any leaves or twigs or whatever in that process, but it's mainly going to come from the skin of the grape. And if you really want a real life example of that, get some grapes. Peel the grapes. Peel the skin of the grape off, and then just put the grape in your mouth.
That
Then
that practice was one of the most enjoyable things as a child, like taking the skin off the grape.
Right.
Yeah.
But then, when you're done, then put the skin of the grape in your mouth and see how that mouthfeel is. And now I'm just remembering, I think I just told that to your daughter the other day, like last week, didn't I? Oh, no, it wasn't. It was
No.
it was another young lady about half her age.
Ooh la la.
Yeah. At work. I had some guests over there, and they had their kids with them. And
I just made it weird.
Yeah, I
I was saying something and you
I
said
was
half her age. I was like, oh no, wait, catch the words, catch the words.
like, what are you talking about?
Well, every once in a while you're like, ooh, a young lady.
No. But she was curious about tannins, and so I wanted to give her an example that she could try at home.
Well, I think that's a really good way to describe tannins, and like that is the kind of feel you get after you taste some of those heavily tannic wines. But I agree, like dry, people getting in their minds that they don't like dry wine, and then you take a good, like honestly, like this, and it's light, it's kind of refreshing, it's got some energy to it, and it's got a little hint of sweetness on the back end, and they
lot of
taste it and
cherry.
they go, "Oh wow, I actually do like that." And I think that's
Right.
one of the great things about wine.
But
is-
I think it's a matter of enjoying it with the right thing. So I think like something like this, you're going to have it with some salmon, with some pork. You could also, I think, do this with some cherry cheesecake
oh wow, I bet
or
that'd be
or
amazing.
cherry pie. Either way.
I bet it would be unbelievable.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I've really gotten into. Cooper's Hawk helps because their menu has pairings on almost every item, if not all. But, I cruise a lot, and one of the guys, he may have been a sommelier, but I know he worked in the wine bar. We did a tasting, and he talked a lot about the importance of having wine and trying wine with food. He said, don't get stuck on what people say to eat it with, but just try it and make notes, and you'll learn that, like, oh, I love this wine, but I even love it better when I eat a strawberry with it, or I even love it better when I have some like really like heavy cheese with it or something like that. A good stinky cheese, you know. So no, I think it's a good way to look at it. Is like you gotta.
I just realized we're not recording.
Really?
No, I'm kidding.
Wow, man. It took us like 4 times to start the last episode, and you're gonna mess with me like that? Come on. So I guess we should dive in. We've rambled on enough. We should dive into Brad. What happened that was interesting between the last episode and this one?
Well, I just heard from the FBI.
I gotta go, man.
Yeah. They've got me going to Chicago in a few months to testify against this schmuck.
Are you even allowed to talk about that?
Oh, yeah, there's
Okay.
no problem. No, it's just I was involved with an investment years back, and the owner of the company just swindled a bunch of people out of money. So they basically want a few of us there that lost money to testify against him to see, about how it impacted us. So
That's fair.
I'll be going to Chicago in a few months. Other than that, nothing really much happened within the last week.
Okay. Well, my something interesting. Brad's probably tired of hearing about it. Amazon Prime Day was not too long ago, and I bought a Peloton. And we were talking about this earlier. How I'm not one of those people that can do a group class and feel comfortable because I feel like even if they're not intentionally judging, they're going to be like, "Oh, look at him. He can't crank it up to 11 or whatever." And the Peloton, like you feel like you're in a group class. A lot of the classes you can like watch and see people in the background, but they can't see you. And it's delightful. It's wonderful. I've had a lot of fun with it. Now my legs really hurt right now. Thank you, wine, for helping with that. But no, like I will say, and again, I am not getting money by Peloton. I wish I was, but no. So far, so good. Now I've only had it 4 days. So, I haven't had time to hang my laundry on it or anything like that. I do hear stories. So, but no, it's been an interesting addition to my life, and now I'm not just the fat guy. I'm the fat guy on a bike.
Fat guy on a bike.
I was thinking fat bottom girls. Like,
Right. No.
Nope.
No.
Nope. All right. Well,
Fat guy in a little coat.
Brad, what's our topic this week? What are we talking about?
First, hit me up with some more wine, Daniel.
What's on my side of the table? All right.
You don't want me to spout expletives.
I'll give you another half cat.
All right. So this week, that's good. That's
Okay.
good. We're dealing with rejection in this episode, and I really don't know why it came out to me about the subject, because normally I wanted to think of some fun things, but it just kind of stuck with me. Not that I've ever dealt with rejection.
Yeah, you're perfect.
I
Everybody,
am.
gosh darn it, people like you.
Right, exactly. Oh my god. All right. On a side note, one of the best things ever was if you've ever watched Saturday Night Live with Stuart Smalley.
Yes.
With Al Franken, where he would
back when he was funny and not like political.
I still like some of the stuff. Anyways,
I haven't seen him doing anything.
Oh yeah,
in years, so it doesn't. matter.
Oh, you talking about Al Franken?
Yeah.
Is
he alive?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's still funny. He has his own podcast.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But anyways, so they would begin each episode with gosh darn it, I'm
good enough, I'm smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like me.
So after his movie came out, Stuart Smalley Saves the World, it was a colossal flop because that movie should have never been made.
Yeah.
He came up on the show, on that skit, like looking decrepit. He's like, I'm horrible, I'm stupid, I'm worthless, and it was just the funniest thing ever.
So I have to say, I really liked that particular character in a lot of ways and loved it. I did not know there was a movie, and I can't imagine how that bit would work into a movie. Honestly, usually those little clips don't work out so well. I didn't love Night at the Roxbury. It had its moments. I didn't love The Ladies' Man. It had its moments. But yeah, like Saturday Night Live is wonderful for what it is, and I absolutely adore the show. But the movies
Wayne's
more often.
World.
Okay, Wayne's World. All right, I'll give you Wayne's World.
Yeah.
But like some of them, it's like, man,
Yeah. Shouldn't be made.
yeah. So
All right, moving on. So I'm going to first start out with a little bit about 5 stages of rejection, which is similar to the 5 stages of um, grief.
I thought there were 7 of grief. It's Kubler Ross, right? Like, wasn't that the thing?
Uh,
Elizabeth
know more than me.
Yeah. So I think there's 7 stages. But anyway, sorry.
But anyways,
go ahead.
so these are the 5 stages of the rejection. So denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And you're going to go through a different path based on what type of rejection that you're dealing with. And what I'd like to really go about today is the different types of rejection that you might deal with and how to handle it in terms of dealing with rejection from a friend, dealing with rejection from your job, from a romantic interest and such. So first off, I'd like to talk a little bit about, how we might handle rejection from a friend. And it might be something that you have a long-term friendship with them and they're just deciding they no longer want you in your life, in their life. It might mean maybe they have a love interest and they just don't have time for anyone else. Things like that. But the first step, I think, is just to, I think it's a little bit easier when we're older than when we're younger because the social aspect is extremely important.
I don't know. I think it's just as difficult, just in a different way. Because in my experience, as I have grown older, one, I've become a little more discriminating about who my friends are. Like, I go for quality over quantity.
Am I quality?
You are. You're
Oh,
a
my
quality
goodness.
individual. But no, I found that it's a little more difficult because if I am close to someone, that is someone I have chosen. Like, I've picked this person out of the masses, and they're one of my people, and we've gotten really close, and all of a sudden it's like, what the hell? Where'd they go? Like, why all of a sudden, where we used to go have drinks all the time, we used to go hang out, we used to go to Disney World, whatever, where'd they go? What happened? And I feel like it hits me a little different. But I do agree that when you're younger, it's, I don't know, like, I see what you mean, but I don't think it's easier. I think it's just different.
I think we crave the support of our peers much more when we're younger, because I think we tend to be a little bit more secure in ourselves as we're older.
I would agree with that. I think you feel like you need those friendships more when you're younger. You're more willing to cast off um, superficial friendships as you age.
I would agree with that. And I think that when we're younger, we're actively looking for you know those people that we want to really spend the rest of our lives with.
Yeah.
Whether it's friendships or whether it's really someone we're looking to marry or whatever. Um, but when we're older, I think we tend to be a little bit more secure in ourselves.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Now, I've had an interesting opportunity, and it was unfortunate at the time, and it's worked out since. Um, when I was younger, I had a very good friend, and it got to the point where anytime he had a drink, he was blackout, like gone, like no recollection of the day. Now, I don't know that there weren't drinks before I got with him, but
I think we agreed not to talk about this aspect of my life.
But no, so I one day just had to cut ties, and we've never really talked about much the feeling of rejection. I have explained to him why I moved along, and he totally understood. He's like, I honestly, I probably would have done the same. But now we've reconnected. It took us about 10 or 11 years, and he no longer drinks, but we talk about it. He's pretty open about. He's in AA and all that stuff, and it works really well for him. He's very happy, and sometimes we have to reject things in our lives. So it's interesting because I was the rejector, not the rejected, in that moment. But looking back, in a way, I did feel rejected because I couldn't hang out with my friend and talk about those things that happened the day before because there was no recollection there. So like I've got that's my interesting story about rejection from a friend. Sorry, I just
No, so
wanted to share that.
I think it's a matter of, it doesn't make it easy for anyone when the rejection happens, because we're all losing something.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Even that friend that we know a mutual friend who seems like every time they get a boyfriend, um, bye friends, and then 3 months later, 6 months later, even a year later, oh, I have no friends. And it's like, well, you keep
Oh,
choosing the same thing, and
is this the person that blocked me on
probably,
Facebook?
possibly, I don't know, but like that's the thing is you feel that rejection, and then like you come running back, even though you were the rejectee or the rejector.
Well,
Um,
and with this particular person, it was a matter of, you know, constantly, a week after they would meet someone, they would be like, "Oh, my partner this, my partner that, blah 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 blah," and then within a few weeks or months, they would be like, "Oh, I'm single. I'm so happy being single. I love being single," and then the cycle would just perpetuate.
so I'm gonna segue if it's okay with you.
Segue, you must.
Um, I I actually want to talk about how rejection from a romantic perspective can drive those things. I think it's a good point where we're talking about those things.
That's actually the next topic.
Hey, look at me. I'm prepared. Accidentally. Um, when I was very young, like middle school young, I was absolutely in love with this girl, and she's this is not her kind of podcast, so I don't have to worry about her listening. I'm not going to say her name, but if she listens, she'd know it was her. I was in love as any sixth grader can be with this girl, and she was just creeped out. Like honestly, today I'd probably be like Facebook shamed to horrible ends.
Is this someone I know?
No.
Okay.
But she was wonderful. She was amazing, gorgeous. Just everything about her was awesome. And she was like absolutely not having it. Just absolutely not having it. And I chased her for years. We did eventually date in high school. Our differences, we realized that nope, that was not the answer. We are friends now. We loose friends. We don't stay. We're not close friends, but we stay in touch periodically every couple of years. Um, but what I will say is that experience of rejection, even though I was totally doing the denial thing, like no, 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 she'll come around, you know. Um, now I wasn't like inappropriate. I was just relentless, which arguably is inappropriate. But
Right.
I will say like the result was later in life, and I mentioned Ferris Bueller in one of the episodes previously. He talks about his friend Cameron and how like he's going to marry the first girl who gives him any attention, and she's going to make him miserable. And I don't know if that's the right quote, but it's close enough. And what happened to me was I went through a period where any girl who would give me any sort of attention or affection, I would pursue that. And so like that experience of rejection from the person I viewed as an ideal drove me to make some poor decisions, and not just with girls, but just with friends in general as well. Like I honestly, hindsight probably would have benefited from some rejection to say, hey, like that's not really a person you want in your life. But
I think we've all made that mistake.
yeah. So anyway,
So let's go take a look at, how to handle rejection
okay,
from a romantic interest. I mean, first, and by the way, I'm getting a little bit of this info from calm.com. I went ahead and did a little bit of research on that, and then I found their site pretty comprehensive on that. But, first, allow yourself to kind of feel and express your emotions in a healthy way in order to process them. So you got to acknowledge what you're feeling, because you don't want to just let, as as the emperor would say, let the anger flow. You know,
Let it flow
um,
through you.
you want to go ahead and engage in activities that promote your well-being and self-compassion. So you want to go ahead and do things that are going to promote really more positivity, do things that you enjoy, and then take that rejection, and instead of focusing on the negative, focus on the positive aspects of yourself in your life. What's going well in your life? Because I, you don't want to take that rejection and go, "Hey, it's because of me." We all have preferences and whatnot, because people will go, "Hey, what about me? Why don't you like me?" Blah blah blah. Well, you know what? We all have people that we would reject because they're not what we would like. I mean, I dated someone many years ago. This is before I moved to
Before we
Jacksonville.
started dating?
Yes, yeah. That, she was gorgeous. I mean, she looked like she could have been the sister to Jennifer Love Hewitt. But she was a wackadoo. Um, so I mean, just very inappropriate at oh so many times. And so there's always something that we would reject. And if we're going to reject anyone for any reason, then we can't say it's wrong for anyone to reject us for the reasons of their own.
I think that's fair. I think that's a really good assessment. And what's challenging about rejection is, to me, is you're feeling hurt. You're feeling all these feelings, and you tend to start self-punishing, ask what's wrong with me, like blah blah blah. And oftentimes, and this is, I think, I guess the luxury of having been the rejector is sometimes it has nothing to do with the person who's being rejected. I mean, I've been at bars when I was younger and talking to people, and so hey, like this has been wonderful. Like we're having the greatest time. Like we're having a great conversation. Like we should do this again. And then was told like, hey, like I have a boyfriend. Like, and we're happy. And it's like, oh, okay. But it takes that, like you said, reflecting on the process and what's happened and your feelings, and really thinking from all perspectives to go, wait a minute, that had nothing to do with me. She didn't say I was bad. She didn't say she didn't like me. She just said I have a boyfriend. Um,
Right.
and I think yeah, no, I think that's some good advice there.
I've seen too many times, and especially online with, you've got those keyboard warriors and whatnot, where they might hit on a pretty woman online, and then they get rejected, and then they start lambasting them. Oh, you're too fat, you're too this, you're too that. And I'm reading this because they'll post the conversations and go, well, if you're thinking that of them, why did you hit on them in the first place?
Yeah.
And that's a really very inappropriate way to handle rejection.
Yeah, and honestly, it's a really inappropriate way to handle anything. When you're feeling hurt, it's so easy to lash out. I actually did this not too long ago in another setting, and I wasn't really hurt. I was just frustrated and irritated. And rather than step back and calmly think about my feelings, I uh, gave some feedback that while I don't know that it was wrong, I could have done it better. And you do these things, and that is a rejection, though. Like I think what I did in my statements was made someone feel rejected, who may have been just trying to understand something. And that's one of the hard things, is especially when you're talking about friends and well, really any kind of rejection. You don't you don't always know all the reasons. If you get the reasons, sometimes because you ask, sometimes if someone feels like saying it, it can be better sometimes because at least you go, well, okay, that makes sense to me. I don't like it, but it makes sense. But often you don't get those reasons. That friend is just gone. That friend is just no longer hanging out with you. That girl is just gone. And you're like, what happened? We Things were good. Where did it go? So no, I think I don't know. I was
There
not
you
going
go.
anywhere in particular. And
That's all right. Going nowhere in particular is your specialty.
Yep, pretty much.
Let me ask you a question.
Don't know where I'm going, but I'm making great time.
There you go. So, Daniel, have you had a time where you were up for a promotion, you or someone else, and the other person got it?
So I am very much an inwardly focused person. Nope, I take that back. I I have had that happen to me. Usually rejections, I focused inward. Um, there was one job I went for, and the reasons that were given for me not getting it were legitimate reasons, business wise. At the time, remote work wasn't a thing. We and it would have caused some problems for me to be in that position. But they hired someone who a did not strike me as competent in any way, and then within a year she was gone. And the project that I was passionate about and saw uh, kind of languished for a while. And now, I mean, now other people have taken over and they've turned it into something very positive. But yeah, I was really frustrated by that, mainly because while I could understand the decisions that were made or the reasons that were given to me from a business standpoint, from a purely rational standpoint, they didn't make sense to me.
Okay. Okay. So, I mean, it happens all the time where we're really looking forward to furthering our career or even the job that we're in at the moment. And we don't get the promotion that we want, the job that we want. And we really need to learn and to really how to process that and better ourselves so we can move on. So, how to handle job rejection. There's different steps for that. Is first to acknowledge to yourself um, processing those feelings of disappointment, asking for feedback. If you're in your current position, you're looking to move up, or if you're interviewing for that job position, it's okay to ask them why you were rejected or why you weren't promoted, so that you can improve yourself. Uh, Use that experience to kind of refine your career goals and realize your next steps. And then to keep pursuing other opportunities and maintain a positive outlook. And then finally, to view each rejection as a chance to grow further in your passion and enhance your skills and experience. You really have to um, not take it personally,
Yeah.
ultimately. Because when you take it personally, that's when I think you're kind of taking a step back and you're going to be more on the attack.
Yeah, I would agree with all of those as great points. And I will add, I've been rejected quite a few times at work for opportunities, positions,
And personally.
and personally. Um, and I will say that looking back now, every one of those rejections served me so well. Um, because I reacted in a positive way. I said, okay, what do I need to do? Do I need to broaden my search criteria and look for something else? Do I need to reevaluate the value of my current position and go, can I just do better at this and earn something more? Um, I remember when I was very young, just getting started in the world, I was working at a computer help desk for the university and just wanted something more. I wanted more money. I wanted benefits. I wanted these things. I wanted to get started on that adult life. And I applied for a IT position at a construction company. And they the interview went fabulously, I thought. It was wonderful. And they called me and said, we really enjoyed talking to you and thought you did great across the board, but we are worried that this position is below you and that you would be bored. Now, at the time, I went, but yeah, I'd really like to make twice as much as I'm making now and have benefits and have vacation and all these things. And I was really mad. I was like, what? Like, you don't get to make that call. Like, but they do. And, but in hindsight, had I taken that position, the job that I landed in after that, that I ended up in for 10 plus years, that served me very well. And I learned amazing things about not just IT, but accounting and just business in general and just leadership, I probably would have turned it down. And, you know, it served me really well. And I've had other experiences where that experience I told you about where somebody else got the job, opened the door for something else. And I do something very different now that 9 days out of 10, probably a little more, I love. So, yeah, I think reflecting and really just examining how you can move forward, no matter what kind of rejection it is key. Sorry, I went on a while there, didn't I?
You're so special. I want to reiterate about how to move on from rejection, and this is like an overall. And this is, once again, I'm getting this from calm.com, and I think it's a really great comprehensive. As I find I drink myself more wine. My words flow not. So,
you become Yoda?
Yes. So how to move on from rejection? Number one is to acknowledge your feelings. It's okay to be pissed.
Yeah.
Okay. It's okay. You want to reflect on the experience, whether it's rejection from a job, rejection from a friendship, or rejection from a romantic interest. It's okay. You want to go ahead and just take a look at that, and how it made you feel. Practice self-compassion.
This one is so important.
Yes.
Like, critical. And it's in every aspect of your life, but especially when you're dealing with rejection.
You don't want to be down on yourself.
Yeah.
You want to see the good things about yourself. And then you want to engage in self-care. To really focus on those activities that you enjoy, that make you feel good. And then set realistic goals. I mean, you know what? I remember when I was a teenager and I was going, all right, by this time I want to go on my first date. Then by this time I want to be married. And, and then, or whether it's in business, whether you're going, I want to have my first house at this point in time, whether I want to make my first million or whatever it is.
I'm a little behind on that millionaire goal.
Yeah, well, Jamie's told me. Set realistic goals for yourself. And then focus on your strengths and accomplishments. It's really focusing about what makes you feel better about yourself. The more positivity that you can portray and discuss about yourself, the better you're going to feel.
I agree with that. And I want to say that, don't just do the Stuart Smalley, like, I'm good enough, smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like me. Like, really enumerate what you have that is valuable. So my daughter and I talked about this the other day. I dropped her off at college, and I said, one of the things I admire about you is the effort you are willing to put in. And, I try to value those actual things that you do, those actual skills and knowledge that you have, and make sure you're aware of that. And I think in this life that we have, this American dream that we have, we're not really taught to, like, look at ourselves honestly and go, you know what? I do this really well. I really do this well. Now, I could be better, but I really do this well. And I have these positive aspects. We're not taught to think about things in that context. And I think it's a loss to society, but it's definitely a loss to an individual. So yeah, I agree. Focus on your strengths and accomplishment. Like, look, you're a catch, whoever you are. I don't care who you are. For one reason or another, you're a catch. And, you don't have to put somebody down who rejected you, but you should acknowledge that like that person just wasn't the right one, or maybe it just wasn't the right one at that time.
Right.
So anyway,
Then maintain a positive outlook. Just understand that rejection is a temporary setback.
yeah,
You know,
shit
one
happens.
as Paula Abdul said, you know, one you know, one step back, two steps forward.
One step forward,
Actually,
and two
she's
steps back.
Shut up, shut up. I was putting it in a different frame.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she did say one step forward, two steps back, but we're not framing it that way.
Okay.
It's one step back, two steps forward.
Okay, I like that.
Shut up,
I can get
Daniel.
behind that.
And then practice mindfulness. It's going to enhance your emotional equilibrium and resilience by keeping your focus on the present and reducing fixation about the past or anxiety about the future. We can really stress ourselves out too much about what we've done wrong or where we're headed in the future, just to understand what can we do right now that's going to make ourselves better.
Yep, I agree. So much of life is when I find I'm miserable, it's usually because in one way or another I am either focused on the past or too focused on a future and not focused on, hey, right here, right now, what do I need to do? And no, I agree completely.
And then seek support. Reach out to friends, family, or professionals. I mean, Lord knows I can't tell you the number of times that Daniel's reached out to me, the number of times he's fucked up.
It's like daily.
So it's, yeah, pretty much. So it's okay to open yourselves up to people.
Yeah.
And then embrace new opportunities. Just because you were rejected in one facet of your life doesn't mean you can't put yourself out there again.
So I'm not gonna ruin this by trying to sing to you guys, but there's a song. It's a country song that I'm probably wrong on this, but I think it's Darius Rucker. Maybe wrong, but he has a song where he's like, for every stoplight I didn't make, every whatever, like he like goes through all these things that go horribly, but then like he found the person in his life that gives him meaning, which I have a whole issue with that trope, but anyway, like that really has been my experience. Is like if you put yourself in that right frame of mind to treat rejection as an opening to a new opportunity, 9 times out of 10 you'll find that new opportunity and it'll be amazing.
Now you just reminded me of I think it's Howard Jones, and I call it the original ironic song, which was Alanis Morissette, but it was "No One Is to Blame." You can look at the menu, but you just can't.
Yes.
Eat. Yeah.
Yeah.
No one ever is to blame.
That's true.
Just freaking live your life, people.
Yeah. I think that was it's a good way to end it. Live your life. Those rejections you go through, you're going to be running your own podcast in a few years and you'll be talking about them almost fondly.
You know what? When it comes down to it, we're all going to be dirt. We're going to be the worm food. We're going to be 6 feet under. That's what's happening. Mashugana. L'chaim.
I don't know what that means, but I've heard it.
All right.
All right.
Cheers. All right.
Well, Brad, I think we're approaching the end of that topic. Do you have anything else you want to add?
I got nothing.
Okay, same. So it's time for the next episode's topic. And usually I'm the serious one and Brad's the fun one. But I know that in our last 7 episodes and probably in this 8th one, we've said some things that from time to time that might have upset or offended certain people.
Is this going to be dirty jokes?
And I wanted to choose a topic that would allow us to hit everyone we haven't offended yet. So I have decided the next episode's topic is what the car you drive says about you. So like in driving around in Florida is an experience. If you've never been here, come on, you'll experience it. And you start to in time develop certain opinions about people based on the car they drive. Like you see a certain brand of car, a certain color car with certain characteristics, and you go, "Oh, great, this jerk is gonna cut me off," and sometimes they will. And so I think it'd be fun to kind of just crack jokes and talk about our conceptions about what the car you drive says about you.
All right. Are we limiting it to a number of different cars per person?
No, just get wild. We'll just go through them and move through and just have some have some good times.
All right.
Well, any final thoughts you want to share, Brad?
Oh my God! Now I got to think about what I'm gonna bring next week to imbibe. That's gonna be interesting. Maybe I should bring some Camus.
You said earlier something about the mass-produced wines, and there are good mass-produced wines. And honestly, most people, that's how they get into it. I mean, honestly, Publix BOGO is why I got into wine. I would sit down and drink a bottle of wine with a loaf of bread and some olive oil and just have the time of my life reading a book. So, yeah, I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
But, no, like I said, there's some good mass-produced wines out there. There's some really garbage ones.
Yeah.
So,
but what it is that there's those mass-produced wines that started out as independent vineyards and then got sold out to the big names.
Yeah.
And then got changed.
Yes, that happens sadly all too often, whether it's wine, distilling, beer. It happens all too often. It's a little sad.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you guys for joining us. I think this has been a fun episode. We've talked about some stories. We've gotten personal. Brad was very well prepared. I was just here for color commentary.
I was prepared.
Brad operated the Google like a champ.
I wasn't say I was well prepared. I would say I was prepared, not well prepared.
So, again, we hope you enjoyed this. If you didn't, try a different episode because you'll probably enjoy at least one of them. But we are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify,
correct.
And this is Wine, Whiskey, and Words on those. YouTube, we're also right. We have a YouTube. Yep.
Yeah.
Brad operates. I work in technology. Brad does the podcast technology. I
tried to get him to do it, and he says, "I don't know this shit."
I'm basically a roadie. I plug up the microphones.
Yeah. But also, if there's a topic that you would like to see us cover, please let us know. We're open to discuss really almost anything.
And I will say, discussions are being had, not necessarily between the two of us, but like I'm talking to people. They tell me things. Sometimes I bring them up. Now seems like as good a time as any about kind of preloading what we're going to talk about, so people can kind of look forward to an episode, or even what we're going to drink. So, like, if they want to join us and share a bottle of wine with us, I think it'd be fun.
Right. Well, I think so. The funny thing is that I think that, and I happened to be there when that discussion was being had. But if they want to go ahead and watch the episode and drink what we had, then we'll put it in the show notes.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
So in the show notes, we'll have that, and then they can pause, get the wine, get the whiskey, whatever, and then watch the episode while they're enjoying it.
And then you can pause, take a bathroom break. Like that's like the pause is great, man. What did we do before we had pause?
My life was miserable without the pause.
You were sitting in the bathroom, leaning left to watch the TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. My life has been so much improved with the advent of cell phones. Before, it was, you know what? I was eating breakfast and reading the cereal box.
Yep. I used to read the ingredients on stuff. Did you do that?
That's what I did.
Yeah.
I did that, and I would take it a step further, and I would start to count, like, the consonants or the vowels.
Oh, wow.
I had a lot of time on my hands.
I always got hung up on things that had carrageenan in them. That was my kryptonite. Anyway.
All right.
So we also have an email address that is not Wine, Whiskey, and Words. It's Wine, Whiskey, and Word at gmail.com because the other one was taken. But we do have a website that is winewhiskeyandwords.com. That's with an S at the end. And check it out. It's being maintained regularly now. It was not for a while because the IT guy wasn't doing his job. But anyway, no, like there's lots of ways to reach us. Please give us your feedback. We like doing it. Don't reject us. Um, we take it very personally.
You can
We
tell
will
us
call
who,
you names on the internet.
Yeah, you can tell us who's the prettier one.
Me? Well, I'm just perfection personified. So
That's not what Jamie told
that
me.
is absolutely correct. Jamie was like, "Oh yeah, let's go with that."
Shit, Jamie's like, yeah, no.
Yeah, there was no hesitation on that either. So, but no, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we look forward to our next episode. And come enjoy a drink with us.
All right, I got nothing.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.